There is something the world rarely teaches us, yet it changes everything once we understand it. We grow up believing that strength is loud. We believe the strongest person is the one who argues the hardest, speaks the loudest, or always has the last word. We are surrounded by examples that celebrate emotional reactions. Someone insults us, and people expect an immediate response. Someone doubts us, and we feel pressured to defend ourselves. Someone misunderstands our intentions, and we spend hours trying to explain who we really are. But after watching life carefully, I have learned that the people with the greatest influence are often the ones who say the least. Silence is not the absence of strength. Silence is strength under control. Think about the moments when someone wanted to provoke you. They expected you to lose your temper. They expected you to react emotionally. They expected your anger to prove that they still had power over your emotions. In that moment, they were not just looking for words. They were looking for control. Every emotional reaction you gave became evidence that they could still influence your peace. That is why learning to remain silent is not about avoiding conflict. It is about protecting something far more valuable, your inner stability. Many people misunderstand silence because they associate it with fear. They believe that if you do not respond, you must be weak. But confidence does not always introduce itself with noise. Sometimes confidence simply smiles, walks away, and continues building a better future. There is incredible power in refusing to fight battles that add no value to your life. Every unnecessary argument steals time that could have been invested in becoming stronger. I want you to imagine carrying a cup filled to the very top with water. If someone bumps into you, whatever is inside the cup spills out. Life works the same way. When pressure arrives, what is inside your mind and heart becomes visible. If anger fills your thoughts, anger will spill out. If insecurity fills your thoughts, insecurity will appear. But if your mind is filled with discipline, patience, and purpose, then even difficult moments cannot easily shake you. Silence is often the visible result of invisible self-control. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing they must answer every criticism. They spend valuable energy trying to change opinions that were never built on facts in the first place. The truth is, not everyone deserves an explanation. Some people have already decided who you are before you even speak. No amount of defending yourself will change a mind that has no interest in understanding you. Instead of chasing approval, invest that same energy into becoming better. There is a quiet confidence that develops when you stop needing everyone to agree with your decisions. You begin to realize that your purpose is not to satisfy every opinion. Your responsibility is to become the best version of yourself. That journey requires focus, bold, and focus cannot survive if your attention is constantly pulled toward every negative voice around you. Silence also teaches patience, and patience is becoming increasingly rare. We live in a world that rewards instant reactions. Everything moves quickly. People expect immediate answers, immediate success, and immediate validation. But meaningful growth has never followed the clock of impatience. The strongest foundations are built slowly. The strongest minds are developed quietly. The strongest character is formed during moments when nobody is watching. There will be people who mistake your calmness for weakness. Let them. There will be people who assume your silence means you have nothing to say. Let them believe that. While they are busy judging your quietness, continue improving your skills, strengthening your character, and expanding your vision. Eventually, your results will communicate more clearly than any argument ever could. Remember, the goal is not to silence your voice forever. The goal is to make sure that when you finally choose to speak, your words carry the weight of wisdom instead of the heat of emotion. That is the difference between reacting and leading. Leaders understand that every response has a cost, and they choose carefully where to spend their energy. The day you stop reacting to every provocation is the day you discover that silence is not weakness. It is power that no one can take from you. After you learn that silence is not weakness, the next lesson becomes even more powerful. You begin to understand that the greatest response is not a clever sentence, a louder argument, or a perfectly timed comeback. The greatest response is becoming someone they never expected you to become. There is something incredibly powerful about disappearing from the noise and allowing your life to become your answer. Most people waste years trying to convince others that they have changed. Truly transformed people don't need to convince anyone. Their lives make the announcement for them. Think about how often people become trapped in the need to explain themselves. Someone misunderstands them, so they explain. Someone criticizes them, so they defend themselves. Someone spreads rumors, so they chase every opinion, hoping to correct the story. But the more they explain, the more they become prisoners of other people's expectations. Their energy slowly shifts away from building a meaningful future and toward protecting an image that was never fully under their control in the first place. There comes a moment in life when you realize something liberating. You cannot control what people think about you, but you can completely control who you choose to become. That realization changes everything. Instead of asking, how do I make them understand me? You begin asking, how do I become stronger, wiser, and more disciplined than I was yesterday? The second question creates progress. The first often creates frustration. The people who underestimated you are usually expecting one thing from you. They expect you to remain exactly as they remember you. They believe the person who struggled yesterday will struggle forever. They believe the person who failed once will always fail. They become so comfortable with the old version of you that they never imagine you are quietly creating a completely different future. This is why silence becomes such a powerful strategy. While everyone is watching your words, they stop paying attention to your actions. They assume that because you are quiet, nothing is happening. Meanwhile, every day becomes another opportunity to improve. You learn new skills. You develop better habits. You strengthen your discipline. You become emotionally stable. None of these changes require public attention. In fact, they often happen best when nobody notices. I have always believed that your greatest investment is not in proving your value to others, but in increasing your value every single day. Imagine spending 1 year focused entirely on growth instead of arguments. Imagine replacing every unnecessary conversation with 1 more hour of learning. Imagine replacing every emotional reaction with another step toward your purpose. By the end of that year, you would not simply have won an argument. You would have transformed your entire life. There is another reason why quiet progress is so effective. Success creates clarity. The people who once questioned your decisions eventually begin asking how you achieved your results. The same individuals who ignored your vision suddenly become interested in your journey. Not because your words became better, but because your actions became impossible to ignore. That does not mean you should seek their approval. Their opinion was never the destination. Your growth was. The beautiful thing about genuine progress is that it frees you from the need to constantly look over your shoulder. You stop measuring your life by whether people believe in you. You measure it by whether you are honoring your own potential. As your focus shifts, something remarkable happens inside you. Bitterness begins to disappear. The desire to prove people wrong slowly fades away. You realize that carrying resentment only slows your own progress. Instead of using your energy to fight the past, you invested in building a future that reflects your values. You no longer need revenge because your life itself becomes evidence that difficult seasons did not define you. People often believe the loudest comeback is the most powerful one. I disagree. The strongest comeback is the one that arrives quietly. It is the person who disappears for a season, works with relentless discipline, returns with greater wisdom, and no longer feels the need to explain anything. That kind of transformation cannot be argued against because it is visible in every decision, every habit, and every result. One day they will search for the old version of you, only to discover that your silence gave you the time to become someone they can no longer recognize. There is something fascinating about silence that most people never recognize until they experience it themselves. When you stop reacting, you do not create emptiness. You create space, and in that space, something unexpected begins to happen. The other person starts hearing the one voice they have been trying to avoid all along, their own conscience. Most people are prepared for conflict. They know how to argue. They know how to defend themselves. They know how to blame someone else. But very few people know what to do when they are met with calmness instead of chaos. They expect you to chase them. They expect you to defend your name. They expect long messages, emotional conversations, and endless explanations. When none of that comes, they are left alone with their own thoughts. And sometimes, your silence asks questions that your words never could. Think about how many times people create unnecessary drama simply because they are looking for a reaction. Attention has become a form of reward, whether the reaction is positive or negative. Many people feel satisfied simply knowing they have affected your emotions. Every angry reply, every emotional response, every sleepless night spent thinking about them quietly confirms that they still occupy space in your mind. But what happens when that reward disappears? When your silence replaces your reaction, the balance changes. Suddenly, they no longer know what you are thinking. They begin creating stories inside their own minds. They wonder whether you have moved on. They wonder whether you have stopped caring. They wonder whether they underestimated you. The uncertainty becomes louder than any argument ever could, because the human mind naturally tries to fill empty spaces with questions. This is why silence is so powerful. It shifts the emotional burden away from you. Instead of carrying the weight of proving yourself, you allow people to carry the weight of their own assumptions. You stop participating in unnecessary emotional games. You stop feeding conflicts that only grow stronger with attention. You quietly step away and allow time to reveal what words never can. There is another lesson hidden inside this. Silence is not about making other people suffer. That should never be your goal. The purpose of silence is to protect your peace, while allowing truth to reveal itself naturally. If someone genuinely values you, your silence may encourage honest reflection. If someone never respected you in the first place, your silence simply creates distance from unnecessary negativity. Either outcome protects your future. I have noticed that many people spend too much of their lives trying to control how others feel about them. They become exhausted because it is an impossible task. You cannot force respect. You cannot force understanding. You cannot force appreciation. But you can choose not to sacrifice your peace trying to achieve those things. There is tremendous freedom in accepting that not every misunderstanding needs immediate correction. Time has a remarkable way of exposing character. Consistency has a remarkable way of revealing truth. You may feel tempted to explain yourself today, but if you continue living with integrity tomorrow, next month, and next year, your actions will eventually become stronger than anyone's opinion. Imagine standing beside a calm lake. When the water is constantly disturbed, you cannot see what lies beneath the surface. But when the water becomes still, everything becomes clear. The human mind works the same way. Constant emotional reactions create confusion. Calmness creates clarity. Your silence allows both you and the people around you to see reality without the distortion of anger. This is why emotionally mature people do not rush to respond. They understand that every situation does not deserve immediate attention. Some conversations improve with time. Some conflicts disappear completely when they are no longer fed. Some people reveal their true character simply because you refuse to interrupt them. As your life continues to grow, you will notice something beautiful. The less you feel the need to react, the more confidence you develop. You stop measuring your worth by someone else's opinion. You stop chasing validation. You stop allowing temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. Instead, you become anchored by purpose, guided by discipline, and protected by inner peace. Eventually, people will realize that your silence was never empty. It was the sound of someone who had finally become too strong to be controlled by anger. The moment you stopped reacting was the moment they were left to face the only voice they could never silence, their own. As your journey continues, you begin to notice that silence is only one part of the equation. Silence without discipline is simply avoidance. But silence combined with emotional discipline becomes one of the greatest strengths a person can develop. This is where your transformation reaches a different level. You are no longer trying to control other people. You are learning to control yourself, and that changes everything. The world often celebrates people who react quickly. Social media rewards instant opinions. Arguments spread faster than understanding. Anger receives attention. Patience is usually ignored. Because of this, many people begin believing that reacting immediately is a sign of confidence. In reality, immediate reactions are often driven by emotion, not wisdom. There is a difference between speaking because you have something valuable to say and speaking because your emotions demand an outlet. Think about the strongest leader you have ever admired. Chances are they were not someone who lost control every time life became difficult. They were calm when others panicked. They remained focused while everyone else became distracted. They understood that emotions are real, but they also understood that emotions should never become the captain of your decisions. That is what emotional discipline really means. It does not mean pretending you never feel hurt. It does not mean ignoring disappointment or acting as though failure never affects you. It simply means refusing to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. It means creating enough space between what happens to you and how you respond that your values, not your feelings, guide your actions. Many people believe confidence comes from always being right. I believe confidence comes from remaining steady even when life feels uncertain. When someone insults you, your confidence is not measured by how quickly you respond. It is measured by whether that insult changes your direction. When someone doubts your ability, your confidence is not measured by the volume of your voice. It is measured by your willingness to continue working toward your purpose without seeking their approval. There is a quiet strength in becoming emotionally stable. You begin to realize that every challenge is also an opportunity to practice self-control. Every difficult conversation becomes a lesson in patience. Every disappointment becomes an opportunity to strengthen your perspective. Instead of asking why life keeps testing you, you begin asking what these moments are teaching you. One habit has the power to change your future more than almost anything else. Before reacting, pause. That simple pause may only last a few seconds, but inside those seconds lives your freedom. During that brief moment, you choose whether your next action will be driven by anger or guided by wisdom. Most regrets happen because people never created that pause. They allowed emotion to speak before character had the opportunity. I have seen talented people destroy years of progress because they could not control one emotional moment. I have also seen ordinary people build extraordinary lives simply because they learned to stay calm when everyone expected them to lose control. Talent may open doors, but emotional discipline keeps those doors open. Intelligence may create opportunities, but character determines whether you are ready to handle them. There will always be people who try to provoke you. Some will question your decisions. Others will criticize your ambitions. A few may even hope to see you fail because your success reminds them of the dreams they abandoned. You cannot control their behavior, but you never needed to. The only person whose actions truly shape your future is the one you see in the mirror every morning. As you continue growing, something remarkable happens. Problems that once seemed overwhelming begin to feel manageable. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become stronger. Your emotions no longer control your schedule. Your fears no longer dictate your choices. Your peace is no longer dependent on someone else's opinion. You develop an inner foundation that remains steady regardless of what is happening around you. This is the kind of strength that cannot be purchased, borrowed, or inherited. It is earned through countless ordinary moments when nobody is watching. Every time you choose patience over pride, discipline over impulse, and purpose over distraction, you are shaping the person you will become. People often think power is found in controlling others. The truth is far more meaningful. The greatest power you will ever possess is the ability to remain in control of yourself when everything around you is trying to pull you in another direction. The moment your emotions stopped controlling your decisions was the moment your silence became stronger than anyone else's anger. Once you learn to protect your peace, master your emotions, and stop reacting to every challenge, a new chapter begins. This chapter is not about what other people are doing. It is about what you are building while they are still waiting for a reaction. Most people become so focused on watching others that they completely forget to improve themselves. They spend weeks wondering who said what, who thinks what, and who is talking behind their back. Meanwhile, time quietly moves forward and opportunities pass them by. I want you to think about something. Every hour you spend trying to defend yourself is an hour you could have invested in becoming stronger. Every conversation filled with unnecessary drama costs you something valuable. It costs your attention. And attention is one of the most expensive resources you will ever own. Once you lose it, you rarely get it back. Successful people understand this better than most. They know that focus is not just about saying yes to the right things. It is also about saying no to everything that distracts them from their purpose. That is why silence becomes more than an emotional decision. It becomes a strategy. While everyone else is busy watching the outside world, you quietly begin rebuilding the inside. Imagine two people facing the same criticism. One spends months arguing, proving, explaining, and chasing approval. The other hears the criticism, remains calm, and returns to work. 1 year later, their lives look completely different. One has become emotionally exhausted from fighting battles that never mattered. The other has developed new skills, improved their health, strengthened their confidence, and created opportunities that never existed before. The difference was never intelligence. It was focus. Many people believe growth requires dramatic changes. I have learned that extraordinary lives are usually built through ordinary habits repeated consistently. Reading one more chapter each day, exercising even when you do not feel motivated, learning one new skill every month, waking up with purpose instead of excuses. These actions seem small in the beginning, but they quietly reshape your future. The beautiful thing about silent growth is that it removes pressure. You no longer feel the need to announce every goal. You stop seeking applause before the work is done. You allow your discipline to operate in private because you understand that the strongest foundations are built where nobody is watching. There is freedom in becoming less interested in being noticed and more interested in becoming valuable. As you continue growing, something unexpected happens. The people who expected you to remain stuck begin noticing changes they cannot explain. They wonder why you seem calmer. They notice that you no longer react the way you used to. They see confidence where insecurity once existed. They see peace where frustration once lived. The interesting part is that you never had to tell them anything. Your habits told the story for you. This is why your silence becomes so powerful. It creates space for your actions to speak. Words can inspire people for a moment, but consistent actions inspire them for a lifetime. You become someone who no longer needs to announce progress, because progress becomes visible in everything you do. The way you carry yourself changes. The way you solve problems changes. Even the way you handle disappointment changes, because your identity is no longer built around temporary emotions. There will always be people waiting for you to fail. Do not let that distract you. There will always be people hoping you react. Do not give them that control. Instead, wake up every morning with one mission: become slightly better than you were yesterday. Improvement does not need to be dramatic. It simply needs to be consistent. Small victories collected every single day eventually become a life that looks extraordinary from the outside. Never underestimate the power of private discipline. The world celebrates public success, but public success is almost always the result of private commitment. Long before anyone applauds your achievements, you must first become the kind of person capable of earning them. That transformation happens quietly, patiently, and one decision at a time. One day people will ask how your life changed so much. They will search for a secret, hoping for a shortcut. They will never realize that your greatest advantage was not talent or luck. It was the decision to stop wasting energy on reactions and start investing that energy into your own growth. While they waited for your anger, you built a future so powerful that your silence became the loudest answer they would ever hear. As we come to the final part of this journey, I want you to remember where it all began. You were underestimated. People expected you to react. They expected your anger, your frustration, your desperation, or your need to prove yourself. They believed that if they pushed you hard enough, they could control the direction of your life. But somewhere along the way, something changed. You stopped fighting every battle. You stopped explaining every decision. You stopped asking everyone to understand your heart. Instead, you made a quiet decision that would change everything. You chose peace over noise, discipline over emotion, and purpose over approval. That single decision is far more powerful than most people realize. Many people think silence is only about saying nothing. It is much deeper than that. Silence is the decision to stop giving your energy to things that no longer deserve it. It is choosing to protect your attention because you understand that whatever receives your attention eventually shapes your future. If you spend your days feeding anger, anger becomes your identity. If you spend your days feeding purpose, purpose becomes your identity. Every day, without realizing it, you are becoming whatever you consistently focus on. There is an interesting pattern in life. The people who constantly seek validation rarely feel fulfilled because their happiness depends on someone else's opinion. But the people who quietly dedicate themselves to growth discover a different kind of confidence. It is not loud. It is not arrogant. It does not need recognition. It comes from knowing that every single day you kept a promise to yourself. You became stronger when nobody was watching. You stayed disciplined when nobody was encouraging you. You remained honest when shortcuts seemed easier. That kind of confidence cannot be taken away because it was earned, not given. One day, something unexpected happens. The people who once ignored you begin paying attention. The people who doubted your future begin asking about your success. The people who believed your silence meant weakness suddenly realize it was strength all along. They notice that you no longer chase approval. You no longer argue over small things. You no longer feel the need to respond to every criticism. Your peace becomes visible, and that peace says more than words ever could. But here is the most important lesson. Do not let that attention become your new goal. If you begin living for their admiration, you have simply exchanged one prison for another. The purpose of your journey was never to impress people. It was to free yourself from depending on them. Real freedom begins when your decisions are guided by your values instead of public opinion. As you continue through life, there will still be difficult days. There will still be disappointments, misunderstandings, and moments when people question your intentions. Silence does not remove challenges. Discipline does not eliminate obstacles. But both of them prepare you to face those moments with wisdom instead of panic. You stop asking life to become easier because you have become stronger. Think about the person you were before this journey began. That version of you probably believed every battle had to be fought. Every opinion had to be corrected. Every insult deserved a response. Now you understand something different. Some victories are won by walking away. Some relationships are healed by giving them space. Some answers become clear only after enough time has passed. Maturity is not measured by how many arguments you win. It is measured by how much peace you refuse to lose. Your silence has also taught you compassion. Not everyone who hurts others is strong. Many people create chaos because they are carrying pain they never learned to heal. You do not need to carry that burden with them. You can choose understanding without accepting disrespect. You can forgive without returning to unhealthy situations. You can wish people well while continuing to move forward. That is not weakness. That is emotional freedom. When your life begins to reflect these choices, people will notice something they cannot explain. They will see confidence without arrogance, strength without aggression, calmness without fear, success without the need to boast. They may never fully understand how you changed, but you will know the truth. Every moment of silence became another brick in the foundation of the life you built. Every moment of discipline became another step toward the person you were always capable of becoming. And one day, without saying a single word, your life will tell a story that no argument ever could. Your silence did not break them because it hurt them. It broke the illusion that they ever had the power to define who you would become.